USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Tap the banner to learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
TaxAct filing software and live tax experts can help small businesses easily knock out their taxes. Actually, our experts can help you find deductions and credits for any sized business. Itty-bitty businesses, medium-sized, really big, mid-sized, small businesses, companies with 0 employees, and mom-and-pop conglomerates. Yep, our tax experts can help all of them. TaxAct. Let's get them over with.
But I'm looking forward, like Alan said, to see some sexy football.
Welcome to the 1905 podcast. Each week, Joe and I bring you our unfiltered takes on the highs, the lows, and everything in between, following the Blues from Gate 13 of the Matthew Harding Stand. Let's hit the notes.
Aston Villa 1, Chelsea 4. Who'd have thunk it? What a fantastic game of football that was. One of the best games of football I think I've witnessed all season long. Fun, entertaining, end-to-end. Both teams going for it. Aston Villa deserve their credit for making it a very good game. But Chelsea ultimately completely outplayed them, I think. They had their moments, Villa. If they'd gone 2-1 up with that sort of VAR call that was very, very close, it might have made it a difficult game. We've got to come back again to try and overhaul them. But my word, Chelsea, and at the moment, in a player called João Pedro, is making it look very, very easy. Isn't it great? I was thinking this on the way home. Isn't it great that we've got a striker who can score goals? The amount of years that Chelsea have gone where basically in the number 9 position is very, very dry, and the goals tend to come from anywhere but the striker, it seems. So it's lovely to have a fox in the box, and that is what João Pedro is becoming. I'm loving the fact that Liam Rosenior has had a word with him. He mentioned this in his post-match press conference and said that basically he needs to score goals in the 6-yard box. And 2 of those 3 goals tonight were classic. If anybody's played the game FIFA, or as it's now been rebranded, FC 25-26, for example, that is the classic sweaty goal. Ball out wide, fantastic ball across, and a poacher in the middle of the box just to tap it in to make it. It was 1-1 at the time, and then obviously to get his 4th goal at the very, very end, or Chelsea's 4th goal and his 3rd. I want to be fair to Chris and bring him in to this voice note, because we watched it together last night in a sports bar, which was fantastic. We met a few Chelsea fans in there, and it was good to see them. So I won't go into huge detail here. I'll give him a chance to come in and give his thoughts. But just to say that one of the most, certainly the most fun game I've probably seen this season, and I include that Barcelona 3-0 win. It felt much better than that because it was a really tense game for Chelsea. It was a must-not. But Chris said it, they couldn't lose that game. And going down a goal after 2 minutes, you just feared the worst. And Jorgensen, who got the nodding goal, not that he had anything to do with the goal, but you're suddenly going, oh no, we're 1-0 down. We got our sub goalkeeper in pretty much, or our number 2 is in. By the way, I think Jorgensen had a very good game. I thought he had a very good game against Charlton in the FA Cup. Under Liam Rosenior. It was Liam Rosenior's first game in charge. I thought he did very well there. And he looks a little bit different. Now, as I say, one game doesn't make you anything. So if he's going to stay in the team, if Rob Sanchez has been dropped for poor play, then I don't think anybody can question it, because Rob Sanchez has had games like this in the past, and I think he does need dropping sometimes for his own sanity. But if you remember when he was at Brighton, Rob Sanchez, when a new manager came in, after a couple of months, they see them in training, they see them in games, they ask them to do things, and Sanchez got dropped. I forget the goalkeeper now that replaced him at Brighton. But basically, he was a ball-playing goalkeeper. And Sanchez got dropped, and that is why Chelsea ended up buying him. So I'm not saying history's going to repeat itself there, but you just never know. Has Rosenior had enough? Time will tell. I think Sanchez will come back in at some point, but I think that there's an opportunity here for Jorgensen. If obviously he's got the Wrexham game at the week on Friday night, I think he's probably going to play in that. Is it Friday or Saturday? I can't remember now. He should play in that one because you just expect him to. So again, he's got a chance to build a head of steam, and I think Jorgensen was decent, more than decent last night, and I think he made a couple of excellent saves. He came through his crosses, and he had a fairly trouble-free night. And as we were saying during the game, he doesn't make every defender shit themselves. And this is the thing: Rob Sanchez makes every defender that we have literally poo their pants, and you can't have that in a goalkeeper. You need to be solid, you need to be dependable, and you need to be like worry-free. You can't be, every time he gets it, going, oh, what's he going to do? Is he going to boost it up the middle to nobody? Is he going to pass it to somebody we shouldn't? You know, Jorgensen gave us that stability last night, and I think that was really, really good. I'll leave Chris to go through some of the match details, but I want to call out Garnacho to say what a brilliant game he had. He was outstanding, Garnacho, from start to finish. I thought his first half was brilliant. I thought his second half was brilliant. And Garnacho just lifts the ball at 4-1. Fantastic move. Cucurella came on, and you're going, Cucurella? I thought he was out for 4 or 5 weeks, they said. Suddenly he come on, lovely ball across to Garnacho, and you're thinking, just lift it in the top corner there. And he hit it straight at Martinez. And well, if it wasn't for Martinez, João Pedro definitely would have had 4 goals, and we may have had 1 or 2 more as well. Enzo Fernandez, 2 wonderful. Well, one was a direct assist. He's for the first goal. It's obviously a fantastic ball over the top to Gusto. The assist before the assist, and there was a lot of talk on another podcast that that Enzo Fernandez and Cole Palmer can't play together. I'm not sure that's true. And I think Chris will do a little bit of digging on the stats in the next podcast, just to sort of go, is that technically true? Because I think that based on last night's performance, they very much can play together, because Enzo and Palmer linked up a lot. And not just that, they both picked up good spaces. And as Chris rightly said, Palmer slightly off the right doesn't interfere with Enzo at all. And I felt last night that Chelsea had a lot more hunger, and I include the forward players. I thought Palmer, Enzo, João Pedro, they worked so hard for the team, which was great to see. And it would be very easy for Chelsea last night to have come out and put in a very low-key, mediocre performance, but they didn't do that. They all were industrious. They all played with quality. It was a pleasure, an absolute pleasure to watch. And nobody hid. Nobody hid behind a bad performance against Arsenal, or, you know, a bad result against Arsenal. Everybody came out with the idea that we must beat Villa. And obviously Wolves beating Liverpool the night before, Newcastle picking up a late win against Man United, has just kept that top 3 to 5 positions very, very close. So huge win for Chelsea, massive win there. We needed it bad, and the players fought for it. And I sort of mentioned this to Chris on the way home from the pub, that I felt as though that we've said it maybe once or twice before, but you could really see the players are playing for Liam Rosenior. I was never against the guy, but I was always a bit like, don't know what, I'm not sure what he's doing here. Let's see what he's got. But my goodness me, they seem to like him, because he's given a few players a bit of stick in a few press conferences. He's given, he said some things. He hasn't said direct names, but you know who he's talking about. And it will be very easy for players to kind of not down tools completely, but maybe not play with the same level of conviction as they normally would. I was pleased to hear what he said about Garnacho in the pre-match game, which was basically, I realise he hasn't been playing as much of late, but he sort of needs to know that I like him. He needs to know that I think he's a fantastic player. But he has basically said what we said. He's needed to sit and watch. We said this on the podcast. He's needed to sit and watch what's going on, watch what Neto's doing, watch what Esteval's doing, etc. And when your time comes, take your opportunity. Well, last night, his time came. He was arguably man of the match. It will go to João Pedro, I'm sure. But Garnacho was a very close second, in my opinion. And as I said last week after the Arsenal match, that Neto needs dropping for a little while now, because this is bullshit. These red cards, you cannot keep doing this. Well, Garnacho has given himself a fantastic opportunity here to say to Pedro Neto, you ain't getting back in this team because I've now got the upper hand. But Garnacho cannot follow up this performance against Wrexham and then our next Premier League matches with sour, dour, no energy, no end product. He has got to keep putting in these performances until the end of the season. And any doubters on him will slowly go away. And he won't be perfect between now and the end of the year, but he's got to be putting in 7 out of 10s and not an 8 and a 9 out of 10 and then a 4 out of 10, because he just swings too far one way or the other. So pleased for him. I'll let Chris come in and do some more detailed match analysis on the game, because I think that's right and fair. But just to say, bloody hell, I enjoyed that. Really, really fun. Well done, boys.
Oh, well, that was really quite entertaining, wasn't it? What a great game. As Joe said, I've woken up this morning, proper spring in my step, and let's face it, it has been a really good week for Chelsea. Obviously, it started on Tuesday with Wolves and that late winner against Liverpool. Yeah, incredible, really. Wolves left it a bit late, but yeah, suddenly picking up really good results. So that was brilliant for us. And then massive 6-pointer for us. We tore Villa apart. And then to make the night even better, I stayed in the sports bar actually to watch the rest of the Man United Newcastle game. And Newcastle with 10 men, I mean, how much better are they at playing with 10 men than we are, by the way? But anyway, scoring an absolute worldie in the last minute to beat Man United and make it basically the perfect week for Chelsea. I think the first thing that jumps out to me about the game is not why it's frustrating, because you can't be frustrated when you win a game and play like that. But I think we all know that's how good Chelsea can be. I think we've said fairly consistently this season that we feel like third is realistic for us this year and is about where we should be. And I think when you see what we do and we turn up against Villa, we've done it at times this season in big games, Barcelona, Liverpool and stuff like that. Even in the games against Arsenal, where in all 4 games against Arsenal this year, we've been, if not the better side, then we've matched them and have ended up not winning any of them. But against Villa yesterday, you just saw what a good side Chelsea can be. And I think that's the thing that kind of, I sort of finished the game thinking, we could have been 5 or 6, couldn't it? Let's face it. And you watch it go, yeah, that we know we've got that in us. Yeah, absolutely know we've got that in us. And when it comes together like it did last night, yeah, we're not far off. We're really not that far off. Have been a really good team. And just to go back to the entertainment bit, I mean, we called out on Sunday the beautiful game is dead. Even Ruud Gullit since has come out and said he doesn't know if he can carry on watching football the way it's currently played. Well, last night was a throwback, wasn't it? Both teams going for it. No goals from set pieces. Lots of great open play attacking football. And it was what football should be. It was a great advert for football, great advert for the Premier League. There's so much to sort of, I guess, go through. I mean, let's go through the team, I guess. It was a little bit more changes than we wanted. We'd said, look, don't change it. As Joe said, the big one was Jorgensen. I think we were all surprised when we saw that. And then he double-checked that Sanchez is not injured. No, he's on the bench. It was a massive call, but probably a rational one. I mean, when you look at the way that we saw against Arsenal, and he clearly wants to play. He clearly wants to play it from the back. And we know that it does not suit Rob Sanchez. And I think with Sanchez, what I think has done him no good is that you're at least saying, well, look, if we're sacrificing your ability on the ball, we need you to be dominating the box. We need to be dominant on set pieces and show that really that is his strength, right? And then you play against Arsenal when actually he really was poor in that regard as well. And you kind of go, well, you know, we can probably, you're not helping us in either way. We're conceding goals from set pieces anyway. So it's an interesting one. As Joe said, you think Jorgensen will certainly play against Wrexham. And again, if he has a good game there, then the shirt's his, isn't it? You'd have thought. And he did say right when he first came in, after that Charlton game, that is Jorgensen in the run into play. And he said, look, everyone is. It's a blank page as far as he was concerned. I think we're all a little bit worried about that. But as Joe was saying to me last night, he's always said Jorgensen is not as bad as people think. And he's had a couple of absolute mares in the Chelsea shirt, let's face it. I mean, Lincoln earlier this season was a disaster. He had a couple of bad games last year, notably at Villa Park. But we know what we've got with Rob Sanchez as well. We know that he's only 2 or 3 games away from a stinker himself. So I think currently neither keeper fills you with massive confidence. So it's a toss of a coin. And probably if you're going to play from the back, then Jorgensen might be the better option. And then the rest of that 4, Fofana came in for Sarr, and I think Joe and I were frustrated about that. And again, you look at Fofana, he's just not there, is he? He's just not quite the player he was. And I felt that was an unnecessary change. I don't think he did brilliantly on the first goal, which was none of the Chelsea players covered themselves in glory. But generally, he just doesn't fill me with confidence. And where you used to look at him and go, well, he's got the guy with real pace. I mean, that was his pace and his leap were what kind of really stood out about him at Leicester. I don't think he's got that. You've got Ollie Watkins running off him constantly. And I'm just watching him going, I'd have liked to have seen Sarr keep his place, particularly on the basis that, you know, he got a red card. He cost us against Burnley. There should be some sort of punishment, I think, for that. So there's a bit disappointing to see him start. I don't think he played brilliantly well. But Gusto and Hato at fullback, I thought were excellent. Hato really, really growing, isn't he, in front of our eyes as a player. Just looks so much more comfortable on the ball than he did at the start of the season. Gusto, kind of him at his best, you know, with that first goal. Really good cross from him. And generally, you know, when he plays like that and he's getting up and being that attacking fullback, we know how good he can be. And I thought Trev Chalobah again was good. He made an incredible block. Well, effectively got in front of Watkins in the second half and did so well to stop him getting that shot away. I thought it was really, really good. Reece coming into midfield, which we've not seen actually much, and Liam Rosenior, but I thought he was excellent. Probably actually shone a lot more than Concede, who was fairly quiet actually by his accounts, and I thought. But both of them together, pretty rock solid, aren't they? And I think I wasn't surprised to see Andre Santos come out. He didn't have his best game against Arsenal, and maybe just a little bit tired, but probably a good one for him to get a break in. And Reece, kind of proper captain's display, wasn't it, at times? And then Enzo Fernandez and Cole Palmer, as Joe said. I mean, there's just, the first thing to say is effectively massively involved in all 4 goals, the 2 of them. Enzo Fernandez with the first 2 goals. I mean, what a ball it was for Gusto from deep. A really neat ball for João Pedro on the second goal. And then, obviously, Cole Palmer getting the 3rd goal. He really needed that as well, didn't he? He really needed that. It was a good finish. You know, when it comes out to on the bounce, he had to get his head over the ball, keep it low and hard, and he did it really well. And actually, what I really noticed about him is it was almost like it gave him an extra spring and a yard in his running. After that, his movement was quicker. I think sometimes you look at someone like Carl and think, well, he's so cool, he's going to always be confident, but he's a human being, and I think he needed that goal from open play. I think the miss against Leeds might have been playing on his mind a little bit more than we realise. And he was playing all right up to then, but I think that goal gave him a real spring. And then it was his brilliant ball for the 4th goal that put us through for Garnacho to play the ball across for João Pedro to get his hat-trick. And I thought, yeah, those 2 together, really, really good. I'll put some numbers together about them playing together, but there's just so many examples, aren't there, of how they link up. And I think they play quite different roles at times. You know, you look at to the Conference League final where Cole Palmer's dropping into that right pocket, putting the cross in for Enzo Fernandez to arrive late and score the header. I think they're a lovely little dovetail, actually, because Enzo is much more of a box crasher than Cole, and Cole likes to drop in those pockets and try and create and play the final ball and get shots away. So, to be honest, you find a way to get them both on the team. That's the key, because on their day, they're the two most creative players we've got, without a shadow of a doubt. And then going forward, I mean, Garnacho, I mean, Joe said it there. I thought he was just really good from minute one. Got it as fullback, had Cash basically on his back for every single time we got the ball, and deserved the goal. Shame we didn't get it, but as Liam Rosenior said after, just a really, really good display. And I think he's probably a bit of an arm around the shoulder sort of player, Garnacho. It looks like he needs that, and I think that would have done him the world of good. And again, like I said to Jorgensen earlier, I think the shirt is his now. He keeps the shirt for the next game, even with Neto coming back from suspension. I think there has to be some sort of play well, keep your place. It has to be that way, I think. And João Pedro, I mean, we've been saying it for a while on the pod. He's been growing, and his record now, first of all, under Liam Rosenior, is superb. He has, when we bring it up, he has 10 goals in 12 games under Liam Rosenior. It's been transformative. But that's now 20 goals in 41 games for Chelsea for a start. I mean, that is an elite return, whoever you are. As I said earlier in the season, he's not just scoring goals, he's scoring important goals. Massive moments yesterday to get the goal when we needed it at 1-0 and then do it again to make it 2-1. He's doing that consistently. He's doing a bit of everything. And you look at him and go, do you know what? His ceiling is even higher. This guy, he really could be the guy for us. I really mean that. And he's very likeable. He's just very likeable. He looks like a Chelsea player to me. Like, he's classy, but he's got strength. He's got a bit of shithousery about him if he needs to. I think he's not one to shy away from challenges and, you know, a fight if it needs to be. We saw that against Arsenal in the games there, where he was up for the fight against Gabriel and Saliba constantly, and quite clear. I mean, it's quite clear to see. Very simple what Liam Rosenior has said, which is get in the box. Joe said it there. We called it out earlier in the season, saying like he's just not having enough touches in the box. It's very simple. I remember looking at 4 or 5 games, and he was averaging, 1 or 2 touches a game in the box earlier in the season under Maresca. By comparison, last night he had 8 touches in the box. He had 5 shots. If he's doing that every game, you're going to score goals. And he was unlucky not to get more, because very early on in the game, Martinez makes a great save from his header. And again, he did nothing wrong. He was in the right place, and 9 times out of 10 that goes in. So, yeah, he's the guy right now, and Chelsea have got to just wrap him up and cut the wall, make sure he can get through the season. And again, he'd be one that you probably rest at Wrexham, you'd have thought. A couple of other things to pick out from the game. The kickoff huddles got a lot of chat, didn't they? Just before kickoff, obviously, first half is fairly normal to do a team huddle, but they did it in the second half as well in the centre spot, annoyed Villa. But you know what? I'm here for it. I like it. You can see the spirit, you can see the energy and togetherness. And Liam Rosenior said that's the players doing that themselves. And, we talk about leadership all the time, or wanting to see a bit of character from these players. And little things like that, little things like that just show that, yeah, they're in it together. And it does look like a group that like each other and like the manager. That's what you can see. And you're seeing it in the football. I think there's not really been many games under Liam Rosenior that I haven't at least enjoyed the way we've approached it. Obviously, the results haven't always been right, especially in the last few weeks. But genuinely, most games, I'm enjoying it. I like the way I can see what we're trying to do. I like the football. And you can say I think the players are definitely enjoying it more. You can just tell. You can just tell in the body language that they're enjoying their football more. And the numbers say that we're 2.5 average XG under Liam Rosenior versus 1.8, I think it is, under Maresca. We're just more attacking. We're looking like a team who's gonna score lots of goals. And it's put us in a really, really good spot. This week has been really good for us results wise. Can't get ahead of ourselves. There's a lot of big games to come. But you play like that. As I said if you play like we did against Arsenal on Sunday, we're going to win a lot more games than we don't. And if we do that, I think we'll get where we want to get in the league, which is top 5, and get back in the Champions League next year. And it makes you then look at, can we go and do something interesting in the FA Cup and the Champions League? Because do that, and it could be still a really, really good season.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
But I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hello, good afternoon. Yes, what a fantastic day. Chelsea win. The sun comes out. Yeah, it's a pretty good afternoon, Spencer. And with Tottenham playing later and West Ham winning last night, I'm sure they're feeling quite nervous, those Spurs fans. But there we go. As for Chelsea, yeah, it's funny. Chris made a good point there about it being frustrating when you see Chelsea play that well and you see how much attacking intent we have. And it wasn't just the goals we scored. We could have had comfortably another 3 or 4 very, very good chances that Martinez either saved or we put wide. There was that one from Garnacho in the first half. If you remember, he sort of has it's sort of a cross-come shot and it deflected and it sort of went over the, it's like it went through the net somehow. It sort of went just over the bar, right in the very, very corner. I mean, it was so close. Obviously, the João Pedro header was mentioned. Garnacho's shot in the second half, which Martinez saved. And there were numerous other chances that we just didn't quite make the most of. There was also another one for Garnacho where we crossed it deep. I think it was still at 2-1. And the ball got crossed deep into him in the second half. Instead of volleying it towards goal, he sort of took a touch and went backwards. You're going, what are you doing? Go the other way, you plonker. But as it happens, obviously, the scoreline didn't matter. Chelsea won quite comfortably. I think what's come out of last night's games, which is interesting, is a lot of chatter around Arsenal and obviously how they're getting on. And, you know, they apparently stank the place out last night against Brighton. Like, it was horrendous. But what you've got there, they're fighting for a league title. They're trying to get over the line, however possible. No, it's not great to watch. No, it's not something that the advert for the Premier League would like to pin up as their come and watch us sort of programme. But it's difficult, isn't it? They haven't won the league in such a long time and they're not really playing football. They're stifling the game out a bit. I read a stat today that they held on to the ball, or held on to maybe a bit of a strong word, but they basically kept the ball out of play for 30 minutes, taking throw-ins and corners yesterday. 30 minutes. That's staggering. And I know Hertzler was extremely disappointed with what happened, and he's come out in no uncertain terms and given them a bit of a rocket about not playing football. And, he's been not shy, let's just say that, in giving his opinion on Arsenal. Whereas the game last night, in comparison, you had 2 teams who were going for it. Now, Villa could have easily sat back, actually. At 1-0, they could have just gone, well, Chelsea aren't very good against the low block, so maybe we should just sit here and see what they can do. But the game was very open and both teams were going for it, and that is why you got the festival of football that we did. It was simply 2 teams, hammer and tongs all night long. And yeah, we definitely were the better side. I mean, there's no question about it. Villa could have maybe scored 1 or 2 more goals if you're being fair to them, but Chelsea could have scored 1 or 2 more on top of their 4. So had it finished 6-2, I'd have taken that as well. But it was a very, very good game. And you do tend to get these matches sometimes. Midweek FA Premier League games, you do sometimes get these really fantastic up and down games. I don't know why. It's like the lights come on and everybody goes, oh, let's have a great game. Let's have a brilliant match today, guys. And if you look at the comparison to a lot of the games that Chelsea are playing at home, most of the away sides come and they sit, they play in a low block. Whether we score first or second or whatever, teams do tend to just plonk themselves in 2 banks of 5, more or less, and they make it really bloody difficult for an hour. We end up getting frustrated, throw a few players forward, and then get hit on the counter-attack, or we lose out to maybe a set-piece goal from a corner or something, when you've dominated the entire match and then you find yourselves losing the game 1-0 or 2-1, you can't believe it. You're scratching your head and you're going, why? Why are the games at home so drab? Well, that is the reason, unfortunately. If two teams want to come and play, Chelsea will play you off the park. And this is where Liam Rosenior has got to find a way of nullifying these teams that do that. The number one thing in his inbox tray, for me, is counteracting these sides that sit in low blocks. We have to do it. Because if Chelsea had done that, we'd be probably 10 points, 12 points better off this season already. You could maybe even be more than that. And I know that's very easy to say in hindsight because, if we'd done this against them, we might have won. Well, obviously, it's true. If we hadn't conceded that goal, we would have won 1-0. It's an obvious thing to say, I know, but it's a true fact, is that too many teams are happy to come to the bridge, plot themselves down, wait for Chelsea to get frustrated. We throw players forward, and then all of a sudden, we get hit. And before you know it, you're 1-0 down and you're struggling and you can't get back at these teams because, again, they're very well organised and they're very well drilled. You want to get to the point where teams like Burnley, they say, do you know what? There's no point going to the bridge and sitting with a back five because they're going to pick us off whatever we do. Those lower ranked teams will be looking around the other sides that kind of match up against them and play similar systems to them and be like, look at Sunderland's game, look at the Leeds game, the West Ham game. They all went to the bridge. They all sat with a back four and a back five and a heavy midfield bank, and they got beat 3-0, 3-1. There's no point us doing that. We might as well try something different, and that will play into Chelsea's hands. So if you can get Chelsea to the point where you can get games like Aston Villa versus Chelsea last night, the world is your oyster. I did just want to quickly go back to João Pedro because his performance last night was so good, and his performances of late have been so good that I just wanted to it's just something I noticed. There was a point under Maresca where you felt as though he was never in the right place at the right time. There's an expectation now from me when Chelsea go forward. For example, the goal that we scored first when Malo Gusto crosses it for him to tap in. When Enzo Fernandez curls that ball in for Malo Gusto, João Pedro is already on his bike. You can see he's already on the move. And you're going, he's going to get there. If Gusto puts the ball across, we've got a equaliser. And I just think a couple of months ago, that goal never happens. I think Gusto puts the ball across and nobody's there to tap it in. Or João Pedro gets there, but he's too late and he ends up toe poking it behind for a goal kick or something. He looks so hungry for goals. And even when, we had 3 at this point, when Garnacho crosses for João Pedro for the last goal, he sort of plays slightly offside, which I quite enjoy because obviously that's within the rules now, knowing full well he's not going to get it. So he's already 2 yards ahead of the centre half. When Garnacho picks the ball up, obviously he's now way ahead of the centre back. They cross it low and he taps in for another one. But you can see his body language is positive. It's like, I'm going to get into the box. I'm not hanging out. I'm not looking to, create something for somebody else. I want to score goals. You cannot play as a number 9 and think you're doing well if you score like 4 goals a season. Your job, you are paid to score goals. The same way a goalkeeper is paid to keep the bloody ball out of his net, he's paid more if he keeps a clean sheet. It's just how it is. He now has 17 goals in all competitions this season, 14 in the league, 5 assists, and 9 goals in his last 9 games. That is a player with a clear momentum shift in his mindset that I am needed in this team to score goals. We've got other people that can create. My job, get in the box, get those 5-yard tap-ins. They are your money maker. That's where you get your new contract from. That's when you get your new 200 grand a week deal, is by scoring plenty of goals. And if you carry on like this, mate, you're going to be absolutely fantastic. He's already eclipsed the fantastic Didier Drogba. In his first season, he scored 16 goals, 10 of those in the league. And there is a lot of football to be played this season. We've only just ticked over into March. João Pedro should really be looking at something like 25 goals. And I think that should be his target. I actually think if Chelsea stay in the FA Cup and the Champions League a little bit longer, that number could easily go past 25. But I think he should definitely be saying to himself, let's get to 25 and let's see where my goal tally can go after that. And I think really what I'm loving is the fact that he's almost standing up to Cole Palmer. I don't mean that as they're having beef. I don't mean that. But it's like when players come in, you've got a player like Palmer who's so outstanding. He's brilliant at creating goals and scoring goals, and his just general all-round play is always very high. Sometimes it's like you don't want to upset people he's the main man. Well, João Pedro's saying to Palmer, everybody else, hey, listen, give me the ball, I'll score. And I think people are trusting him now. And in, a short 8 weeks, Liam Rosenior has been in charge. His transformation has been off the chart good. And it was my son's birthday recently. And I'd like to thank him because he signed some programs and some footballs, etc., to my son. And it was personalised, and I really enjoyed that. He loved it. And those things are pride of place in his bedroom. So a big thank you to João Pedro for that. I know we touched on Enzo in the first voice notes, but I think he just deserves a load of credit. That pass to Malo Gusto for the cross for the first goal is just world class. And the little dink pass through to João Pedro where he just chips it over the goalkeeper for Chelsea's second goal is just unbelievable. Really underplayed, underappreciated. I think sometimes, Enzo, he does give a shit. He cares. I think when he plays like that, he's so good. Like, I can see what we got. You know, it's maybe taken a little while to sort of come to fruition a little bit, but I think Enzo Fernandez is slowly turning into a very, very good central midfield player. And if he can just keep turning in these performances, we're going to be very, very happy as a fan base. That Cole Palmer goal, again, what I loved was the overlapping run from Reece. And when Cole Palmer eventually shoots the ball, there's 4, not including Reece James, who's up there making the cross, there's 4 Chelsea players in the box. And there's 2, I think it was Caicedo and maybe Gusto. I forget now exactly, but it was 2 players just sort of not on the end, right on the edge, but they're sort of in that sort of holding role. In case the ball got spilled out, they were there to sort of mop up. And I think under Enzo Maresca, we were never seeing this football. Never once were we seeing that football. And as a defender, what do you hate most? You hate overlapping fullbacks coming on, whipping great balls in. And when they've got 4 or 5 players coming at you as a back 4, you're just thinking to yourself, who do I mark? Where do I go? You know, you're creating panic. And, you know, numbers in the box is everything. There's no point you putting one player in there and hoping to get it to him, because you're asking Reece or Gusto or Hato, whoever it might be, you've got one player to pick out and there's like 4 defenders. Make it so that if you just slightly shank it or whatever, or maybe it doesn't quite go where he wanted it to, it might fall to somebody else. And I don't care what anybody says, you have to give the opposition something to think about. And Chelsea for ages have not done that. So I'm really, really pleased to see this. I hope Mamadou Sarr comes back in for the Wrexham game, because I really want to see Trev and Sarr play together for the rest of the season. We can't keep chopping the centre-backs. We just can't keep doing it. It's not working for us. Again, I felt as though we changed a goalkeeper and a centre-back last night. It's too much confusion. It's too much chaos. I'm happy that if Jorgensen can come in and be that number 1, if he's going to get a chance to do that and be that, then great. I'm sorry if you're not doing it, Rob Sanchez, then you need dropping. And if the next man up is Jorgensen and he plays well and he has another good game against Wrexham, then yeah, you should keep the shirt for Newcastle, and then PSG, then Newcastle. So it's just the way it goes. That's how football is, and it should be next man up. If you're not performing well enough, and there's somebody ready and waiting to take your place, then unfortunately you've been given enough chances, and Jorgensen deserves his spot. But as a club, we can't keep making these changes because it's going to bite us. It will bite us. So let's please, for the love of God, keep some consistency in this back line, because it's, oh my God, it's driving me to drink. And just as a side note, has Jorgensen been on the weights? He looked bulkier last night. He'd been in the gym pumping iron, quite frankly. He looked solid. That save he made, I think it was from Rodgers. He just stuck his left arm out and he punched it over the bar. I thought most people, that'd have broke their arm. It was an incredible save and very nonchalant. I did enjoy that, I have to say. And just lastly, it was fantastic to see Cucurella. I know I mentioned him in the very first note, but like I say, we didn't expect him to come back quite so soon. So if he's fit and ready to go, I think the rest would have done him some good too. Hato has been an amazing understudy, and I think Hato deserves to keep playing. I think you can switch them out now, and I think that this little run of matches is exactly what Hato needed. You have to play people. You have to trust them. The Ajax Academy and the Ajax first team rave about this boy. And Ajax as a club right at this moment aren't doing the best they've ever done. That's true. However, they are in a world-class academy, like absolutely one of the best there's ever been. And he was in their first team. He was their captain, Hato. So he deserves his minutes, and we've bought a very good player there. But like I say, good to see Cucurella come back. It's great to have two players competing for that position. And if we can give Cucurella some rest and bring Hato in for some maybe low-key games, I think that could only be a benefit to us. And yeah, a really good weapon to have. Although one note for Hato, please don't pass the ball blind back into your penalty box when Ollie Watkins is basically on the prowl, because that could have been a very, very cheap goal to concede. A 3-1 up, Watkins basically dances around Jorgensen as he comes out, and Trev comes back and makes a fantastic tackle there. But yeah, other than that, Hato was very, very good, and he's been very, very solid in all the games he's played. But yeah, just be careful of that one. So yes, a great game, great to watch, superb performance, lots of goals, a hat-trick man, and to be honest, lots and lots of reasons to be optimistic. Fantastic. Over to you, Chris.
Yeah, I'm still in a really good mood actually today. I've just had, do you know the words I've had in my mind all day? I was thinking of the Ruud Gullit stuff that I mentioned earlier, and it took me back to a famous quote from Ruud Gullit in 1996. He was doing the coverage on BBC in the UK for the Euros, and he used the phrase sexy football. And it was just as he had been named the new Chelsea manager for the following season. And what we saw under Gullit for the next 2 odd years that he managed Chelsea was a lot of sexy football with a real cosmopolitan team. And last night was a return to a bit of sexy football. It was really good, wasn't it? I wanted to talk a little bit more about the goalkeepers, because I think it is the big talking point, really. It's very rare that a goalkeeper's taken out. So let's just have a look at a few of the numbers. The reason, let's face it, that Sanchez would have been taken out the goal is for his passing. So I looked at the stats and had a quick comparison between Jorgensen and Sanchez. And actually, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to add Penders into the mix as well, because obviously the talk is he'll be back in the summer to compete for a place. Spurs, by the way, apparently made an inquiry about him for next season among a couple of other Premier League clubs, and Chelsea told him where to go. So, yeah, Penders will be here to play, and you've got to think that with Liam Rosenior obviously knowing him very well and having him play at Strasbourg, that will be part of the plan. Rob Sanchez, 67% short pass accuracy, 33% long pass. Compare that to Jorgensen, who's 82% short pass, so much higher than that Sanchez 67. Obviously, Jorgensen hasn't played nearly as many minutes, let's face it, but still, that's quite a significant difference. So you've got to think of Sanchez. He's giving the ball away a third of the time that he has it at his feet. 1/3 of the time with a short pass, he's giving it away, versus Jorgensen is like 1/5. And then Penders is the strongest of the lot, 85% short pass. So yeah, quite clear when you see that laid out. Long passes follows the same path, actually. Sanchez, 33% long pass. So again, what's that? 2/3 of the time that he's got it at his feet, he's given it away. Jorgensen, 40%. So a little bit stronger. And then Penders, again, the strongest for long passes at 44%. So they'll look at these numbers. We know they will. And that will be a big factor in why he felt he had to make the change, I think. Obviously, save percentage has got to come in. Like Joe says, the most important thing is keeping the ball out of the net. And it is where Sanchez is strong. Sanchez has got 70% save percentage this year. Jorgensen a little bit lower at 60%, and Penders 68%. So just off, a little bit off Sanchez. Again, Jorgensen's played hardly any minutes compared to those guys. But we will see. I think Jorgensen's got the shirt now. I saw more quotes from Liam Rosenior said, yeah, those two are competing for the rest of this season. So it's pretty honest. And let's just hope it doesn't lead to disaster and kind of what we had last year where they're sort of rotating, because you just can't rotate goalkeepers. You just can't, can you? Looking ahead to Wrexham on Saturday night, I'm looking forward to this one. This one might make you smile or laugh, but because I love the Wrexham TV show so much, I've watched it from the start. Basically, I try my best to avoid their results in the real season, which has obviously been harder and harder to do as they've come up the leagues. But but I kind of like to watch it not knowing what's going to happen. But I've broken that rule to prepare for the game and make sure that I actually can say something sensible on the podcast. And interestingly, my wife has no interest in football, but it's the one football thing I get her to watch is the Wrexham programme. It might be because of Ryan Reynolds. I don't know. But no, she finds it very entertaining, and I have generally really enjoyed it. They're doing well, Wrexham. And what I can tell you is I think it's going to be a tough game. It's one of those you think, lower league away from home in the cup, that's easy, but I don't think it will be. They're on a really good run of form. They are 6th in the championship, but really not far off. They're only 9 points away from automatic spots. They're right in the mix, obviously, for the playoffs. They're on a good run of form. They've won the last 3, and they will make things tricky. For those who haven't seen much of how they play, to be honest, they're kind of the Chelsea's nightmare because they're very direct. They rely a lot on set pieces. They get a lot of balls into the box. A quarter of their goals are from headers this season. They've got big Kiefer Moore is their top scorer. He's 6'4", plays up front. He's been around the houses, played at many clubs, Kiefer. He will cause us a lot of problems. And I think they'll have done their research. They'll have looked at where Chelsea are weak. And without a doubt, they are going to try and load the box when it comes to set pieces, long throws, all that kind of stuff. That's what they do. So, I mean, I've just said about Jorgensen will definitely play. Based on all that, maybe he'll put Sanchez in, but we'll have to wait and see. The thing that, and it will be, the other thing obvious to say is it's going to be absolutely lively. The atmosphere will be electric. It's a tough place to go. It's probably their biggest game, certainly the biggest high-profile game that Wrexham have had in years, in decades. And it's going to be it'll feel like a proper night game on a Saturday. It'll be dark. It'll be lively. And Chelsea have to be switched on. Otherwise, honestly, it could be an upset. We've got to be really, really careful. And I wonder if that will come into his team selection thoughts as well. He's going to want to rotate almost certainly ahead of the Champions League with PSG in the week. So you've got to think there will be rotation, probably similar to what he did at Hull, you'd have to think. But it'll be a much tougher game than Hull. I'm certain of that. One thing that came out, obviously watching the game last night, I don't think we've said this yet, was what Villa did on our corners. I mean, I'd cried on about this, probably bored people about the fact that it was really frustrating that Chelsea seemed to crack it earlier in the season against Arsenal and against Spurs, dealing with their set pieces by basically sprinting 3 players up the pitch and just meaning that, in Arsenal's case, they had to leave a lot more players back. The box was a lot emptier, meant Sanchez could come and claim balls. It worked obviously brilliantly well against Spurs. If you remember that game, Spurs had really the only way they were scoring goals at that time was from set pieces. Chelsea did that trick and it worked a treat. And actually we looked more dangerous than they did when they had a corner. Last night was the opposite, wasn't it, with Villa? I think they left 4 up at any one time. And you basically, every time Chelsea got a corner, I was worried. I was worried we were going to concede. And obviously we very, very nearly did. I mean, it was offside by nothing, wasn't he? And I just watched that. It actually annoyed me again last night, thinking, this is so simple. Why did we not do it against Arsenal? And they're not to hark back to that game, but you just sort of look at it and go, you've already cracked this once. Why are you not continuing to do it? And I just really hope that Chelsea go to Wrexham with a similar sort of game plan. Look at what Villa did to us. I mean, Liam Rosenior, when that second, I don't know if you saw it, when they went on the counter from our corner where we gave the ball away terribly, I think it was a bad Reece James pass to Palmer and they went through. He stopped watching. He went to his sort of haunches and basically looked away. It was almost like he knew it was going to be a goal, which obviously it was. And again, we were lucky. But it's not rocket science, is it? When you looked at Chelsea having a corner, there's basically no one in the box. There's about 7 players in the box. The rest of them are outside to defend against Villa's attack. And I just really am looking for a little bit of innovation like that when we go to Wrexham and just being a little bit smarter. Sometimes I think that people like Bruno Cuero, I've said this before, almost have to justify the money they're paid by doing something different every time. And ironically, he doesn't do it on attacking corners because we do the same thing every time, which is that little in-swinger, which, to be fair, works well. Don't change it. defensively it's not working well, do the thing that did work well and just stop bloody conceding from set pieces. It's really doing my head in that. But that'll be the thing to watch for Wrexham at the weekend. And obviously Phil Parkinson was there watching the game last night, and yeah, he'll have looked at that and without a doubt will have a plan for Chelsea. The only interesting thing for Wrexham would be, will they go full strength? Because for them, obviously getting up to the Premier League, which they've got a good chance of doing, is going to be their priority. And they do play on the Tuesday night, so they've only got a few days before that game, but it's Chelsea, it's a big night. I'm sure all the big boys will be over, so you'd imagine they'll go full strength, to be honest. I think the FA Cup is a really good opportunity for Chelsea this year. It is thinning out a little bit in terms of the teams left in it. There's still more all-Prem ties as well to go in this round. I think Chelsea's got a really good chance in the FA Cup. I am desperate for us to win the FA Cup again. It used to be a competition that we almost took for granted how often we won it back in the sort of 2010s, I guess, was when we had that real era of winning it, and just before in the early 2000s. It's been a long time now. 2018 under Conte's last game was the last time we won it. We're well overdue, as I've said many times, a win at Wembley, and doing that would be really special. So let's hope we can do the business on Saturday night, and we'll be back obviously on Sunday to reflect. If we play like we did last night, then I can confidently say every little thing's going to be all right. See you next time.
But I'm looking forward, like Alan said, to see some sexy football.
Sexy football. That's what we're looking for.
That's a good line, Jim.
No, you can't say that. It's only 20.
But it's sexy football.
Those were the Chelsea notes for this week. If you enjoyed the podcast, do us a favour and share it with a fellow Blue. And we'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave us a review wherever you're listening. Wherever you may be, stay carefree, and remember, every little thing's gonna be alright.